Hello.
Hello. Welcome to Poly Role Models. Thank you for taking the time to contribute.
Thank you for asking me to be here. I'm Sera Miles.
Oh, okay. Would you like to tell me a little about yourself?
Sure, I own a phone sex company. I'm a career sex worker. I do a lot of education and activism, mostly in the kink BDSM leather community.
Okay.
I have lived a poly life for a handful of years, and before that, I was a terrible cheater.
I've heard that before. Not from you, but like just in general. All right. Let's get to some questions. How long have you been polyamorous or been practicing polyamory?
I love the way you split that up because I would say that I've been poly my whole life, that it's an orientation, that I've been practicing, openly practicing polyamory for a little over 3 years.
Okay. All right. And what does your relationship dynamic look like?
So I have a partner. Her name is Frida. We have a DS dynamic that's primary to us,
Okay.
where she's my property and I'm her owner. We're both pretty much allowed to do what we want to do,
Okay.
and we're at a point in our lives where that's not a big thing. I'm 41, she's 38, and we're really career centered right now. We have a 9-year-old child from my previous relationship. And as much as we're allowed to do whatever we want to do generally, as long as, there's a condom and we're not engaging in something that's highly risky emotionally, then we can. We don't actually do very much.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
What aspect of polyamory do you excel at?
Mm. The first thing that comes to mind for me is a member of the poly larger world, of the alternative sexuality community. I'm somebody who believes in being out because I chose a long time ago, sex worker. I chose that 16 years ago. So I've already learned how to manage the risks of being out about who you are. I've already managed to walk the talk around all of those issues in so many other ways that I'm really good at being out. And one of the ways that I'm out that I think is unique and beneficial to the larger community is that poly isn't one of my really important to me identities.
Okay.
And in fact, my partner doesn't identify as poly. She's not attracted to the idea of many loves. She's not a love-centered person. She loves polyfuckery. And as far as she's concerned, she has one relationship with me.
Yeah.
And everything else she does is an encounter, right?
Okay.
Now, I am poly, like I orient as poly. But I like representing that you can have this part of your identity and your life that's not the most central part of how you identify to other people. I don't know, I feel like I'm talking in circles.
No, I understand.
So yeah, I'm a good representative anywhere I go, and I'm always ready to go to bat for who we are as a people and for everybody to have access to information so that they can have the relationship of their dreams.
Awesome. What aspect of polyamory do you struggle with?
Because I have a history as a cheater, if I am given the opportunity to, really still want to have some kind of secret, right? So recently my partner and I were just not renegotiating so much as saying, we haven't had a lot of other encounters for a while. I was about to have one, and she was interested in possibly having one and saying, okay, let's just run down again what our expectations and our rules about this are. And I said, I think that even though I don't really care to hear what goes on, I'm neutral about it. She can get excited by hearing about, another encounter I have. I could care less, but I said, I think we need to have open communication about it and have it just be a set rule that we tell each other. Whether it's I sucked his dick or I'm going to go have some BDSM play with somebody, because if I'm given the opportunity to not tell,
Yeah.
then the urge is too big.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how do you address that? How do you overcome that struggle?
Being the D type, the dominant type in the relationship, I make it a set rule that we both have to tell. And I'm so invested in that part of my identity, and it's so critical to me to be a good D type for my self-esteem, that it's highly unlikely that I'll F it up, because I got to do what I ask her to do. I have to be the model
Gotcha.
in our relationship for everything that I request.
Understood. All right. Well, in terms of risk aware or safer sex, what do you and your partners do to protect one another?
Condoms are a must if we're having any kind of sex with a penis. And if we're doing any BDSM play, we do blood play with each other. We don't do it generally with other people without gloves and other. She always is in charge of the blood play, so I'm like, am I going to get it right? She takes care of that. We keep our blood and our liquid, our bodily liquids safe. Past that, we're both so involved in activism and safer sex education that so much of, I guess, what we do is so normalized to me.
Yeah.
That I'm trying to think if there are any other rules that I can't pick apart because I don't think of them as something unique that you set down. It's just what you do.
Fair enough. What is your worst mistake that you've made in your polyamorous history, and how'd you rebound from it?
The worst mistake I made was in trying to have monogamous relationships and then cheating over and over, like making the same mistake from the age of 18 to 37.
Wow.
21, 19, whatever that is years, of just thinking again that I would have the relationship and not have the urge to cheat. And to me, it was never like, I'm going to cheat. To me, it was always, I just want to be able to do something else sometimes. Something comes along, a person comes along. And whether it's kissing in a bar or having a heavy spanking scene or having sex, sometimes I want to do a little something else. And I sat in judgment of polyamory. And I sat in that place of judgment in my 20s and early 30s, where in retrospect, of course I was poly, because I had so many feelings about it. I think we're often neutral about things that are not touching anything within us.
Yeah.
When we have a lot of feelings, that's a sign. And I was fortunate to meet a couple that was practicing polyamory in my early 30s, or late 20s. And I played with them a little bit. It was a good experience. And I think that helped buoy me through making more mistakes and then coming out of the other side and saying, okay, I cannot have a monogamous relationship.
Yeah. All right. Well, what self-identities are important to you, and how do you feel like being polyamorous intersects with these identities? And I feel like you've answered a lot of that, but, go for it.
I'm a sex worker first and foremost. I'm a career work-centered person. I'm a type A, and I'm a workaholic, so that comes first. Being a mother is really important to me. My child is a cancer survivor. She had leukemia. She is officially cancer-free as of July 22nd this year.
Congratulations.
And then being an activist and an educator and part of the BDSM and leather community is super important to me. And then after that come they're more personal identities. Of being poly, of being the D type in my dynamic. Anywhere where, I'm relating to the larger world is kind of my first, I guess the mother thing screws that up though. I don't know. Being a sex worker and a mother are my most important identities.
Okay. All right. And do you have any groups, projects, websites, blogs, etc.? Anything that you're involved in that you'd like to promote?
I have SeraMiles.com, where I have all my classes, a little bit about me as an activist, and stuff my partner and I teach together. And then my website for my company is peplove.com, love.com. And if anybody's interested in my business, and often people are like, I might want to do that, you can go there and see what we're doing. I will be teaching at DomCon New Orleans in October.
Okay.
My partner and I will be teaching Working with Gender Variant People at the industry-only classes. And then I will be teaching my favorite class that I teach, which is Sex, Lies, and Infidelity.
Okay.
On the reasons why people cheat. And it's really a class designed for people who struggle with cheating. And it's a class that comes compassionately, from a compassionate point of view, to examine why we feel the urge that are so hurtful to others. Yeah. But we're also teaching fisting at DomCon New Orleans with a demo.
Ooh, nice.
Yes.
Awesome. And thank you so much. Like this was really enlightening. I got a lot out of this.
Thank you.
Yeah. So again, thank you so much for being a contributor to Poly Role Models, and have a good night.
You too.